Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest because you're just sitting over there thinking the answer to yourself anyway. What do you picture when you think of a professional organizer? Are their homes always perfectly picked up and organized? Do they secretly judge their friends when they come over for dinner? Are they only for super wealthy people with lots of extra money? Y'all, I hear these assumptions or some form of them all the time. And so I'm here to set the record straight, and I'm gonna bust 5 myths about pro organizers. My goal is to show you the value in hiring a good professional organizer and how that relationship can help you live the lifestyle you truly deserve. So I invite you to stick around and let's get into it. Hey, and welcome to this episode of the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, productivity-based life coach, and decluttering expert. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. And I'm so pumped to have you along today. It's a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest, finally, after we've had what feels like endless weeks and weeks of rain and gray, and we're getting ready to go camping this weekend. Very excited. It's full on summertime mode. Today is actually the first day of summer that I'm filming this podcast episode for you, so happy first day of summer. I know we'll be a few days into it, but here we are, and I hope you guys have some awesome plans ahead of you, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the 5 myths about a professional organizer and what it's like to work with them and what type of person they are. And before we get into that, I've got a special offer that I would like to bring your attention to. Very important. I am running a discount for my signature mini course, Better Habits in 30 Days. If you are somebody that struggles with procrastination and finding motivation to stick to your goals, we're halfway through the year right now, and this is a time that I like to sit and evaluate myself and with my clients about what things they want to accomplish for the year. Have they been able to stick to their goals? Do we need to pivot certain things? What do we want to look forward to for the next 6 months so that we're achieving all of these milestone markers and finding our purpose in life? So the Better Habits in 30 Days mini course is kind of a condensed version of what I walk my one-on-one coaching clients through throughout the year to figure out what those goals are, how to meet your expectations, how to stop procrastinating on all these projects, how to get control over the organizing and decluttering of your home so you're not distracted by all of that, and then you can really focus on your goals for the year. I want to make sure that you guys get your hands on a special discount code. It is Early Bird 2022. I will make sure to link to that in the show notes and the description of the YouTube video, however you happen to be here. I highly encourage you to check it out so that you can make this year the best year ever. Please do me a favor, however you are here today, YouTube, podcast, go ahead and look at the screen of your device and tap that subscribe button so that you don't miss any new episodes of the Speak Organized podcast. And beyond that, you should also consider joining my free Facebook group. I will also leave a link to that in the show notes and the description of the YouTube video. It's free to join. All of my course members hang out there, as well as just community members. I do free trainings in there, usually around once a month, sometimes a little bit less, especially in the summertime because I'm kind of in like low power mode with work. But anyway, I encourage you to join that group. And now I think we should probably get into talking about those 5 myths about professional organizers. All right, myth number 1 that I hear all the time is that professional organizers' homes must always be perfectly organized, right? That seems like a logical conclusion. That's what we do for a living. And so we must be so good at it and really focused on it all the time. And so our homes must be Pinterest perfect, pristine all the time. And that is so very false. Especially in my case. I can't speak for everybody else, but I have talked to plenty of other pro organizers in the industry that say the exact same thing. And sometimes it comes down to doing an organizing session for a client all day. You've just done it for 10 straight hours, and the last thing you want to do is come home and organize your own home. Now, I will say that I try to keep my space functional on a day-to-day basis, and I, as a decluttering expert, really value the balance of an in and out flow of things, stuff that comes in and out of my home. And so I'm very conscious about making sure that there is that balance there, that I'm not bringing too many things in without letting other things go. And I'm always trying to make sure that what comes into my home has an actual designated space where it lives, so it doesn't just, float from place to place homeless and clutter up my space. So I guess there is some truth to that in a way, but we also just have to be realistic, and that's what I tell clients all the time, is that I live with 3 other people. My 2 and 3-year-old and my husband are not professional organizers. I don't expect them to have the same understanding or the same standards, because that's what I'm trained to do. That's how I've been educated. That's my job. That's not what they do, and that's not what they think about all the time. And so there is a balance of expectations as well for my own family. And so I have to be okay to be flexible and let certain things go, especially as I try to teach my kids how to value their possessions and take care of them, and how to clean up after themselves, how to put their toys away or put their clothes in the hamper, and teach them where the homes for things are. They're not going to do it perfectly according to what I would consider to be a good standard, but that's not the point. The point is for them to do it and to practice and to learn. And so if it's not perfect, or it's not up to my quote unquote standards of organized, that's okay. And the same thing goes for my husband. And I do try to, if there's obviously something that is a pet peeve, or it bugs me, or I want to remind him of something every once in a while, then I will, and just like he does the same for me. And many of my friends and colleagues that I've talked to, it's the exact same thing. And again, just kind of going back to being tired at the end of the day and not wanting to work on my own house, there are times where I let some of my own projects go for far longer than they should. And when your kids are young and they're growing, and you don't want to have to go through their clothing again because you just did it 2 weeks ago, but they grew out of everything again already after you just revamped their wardrobe or whatever. And so I've got a whole mess and pile of clothes that I have to go through to transition from spring to summer now that it's warmer, and they don't fit into the shoes they fit into last week, and I've just been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, right? So things like that come up all the time. And I think really the biggest thing is, again, just the day-to-day maintenance. And the other little secret that I have, I guess, is that I have outsourced some of that in my own home as well. I hire a cleaning person to come once a month and do a big cleaning reset of my space. And it's not because I am incapable of doing it. It's just something that I don't personally enjoy having to do in my own home. I'm constantly organizing for my clients. I'm trying to spend time with my children and my husband and focus on doing other things. And so I choose to have somebody come in and clean for me once a month, so that it takes some of that pressure off of me and takes some of those tasks off my plate. And that is one thing that I have had to really get real with myself about, is how to delegate and outsource rather than trying to do everything myself. Still working on that part, but we're striving for progress, not perfection, right? So that's the first thing, is that organizers are real people. They have a skill set in organization, and they have an understanding of how to create systems and order and routines and stuff management, stuff like that. But we're not perfect. We're just regular people like everybody else, and usually our family members are not professional organizers either. And so we deal with the same struggles and the same need to declutter, and the same, what do we do with all this crap that everybody else does. So that leads me into myth number 2, which is the thought that and this one makes me kind of sad, but it's just the reality of the situation, is that a lot of people think that professional organizers are going to judge them and they're going to judge their space, because when we get called in to work with a client, whether it's virtually or in person, there is some embarrassment and guilt over how things have just been let go and they've become overwhelmed, and it's just like past the point of even trying to tackle it on your own, because it's a very overwhelming situation. There's tons of stuff, you don't know what to do with it, and you're basically just fighting to survive. And that's a lot of the way that it can feel sometimes. And for me and for many of us, I wouldn't be able to do my job. I wouldn't be doing you any justice as my client if I were to come in and judge you for the state of, the mess that you're dealing with. And because I have been there, like I was not an organized person growing up. It didn't come naturally to me. It's a skill set that I learned and really valued and educated, and it totally changed my life. And that is why I quit my job to become a professional organizer and share that wonderful revelation with everybody. So I understand firsthand where my clients are coming from, and so I don't judge them just based on that, because I understand what that feels like, and B, because it just is a disservice and it's not going to help the situation get resolved. So we really just want to come in and help you have that extra pair of hands that will make the difference to cut the clutter and figure out what to do with some of that stuff that you're not using and that's getting in the way, and just break the project down into smaller chunks so that it is more manageable and doesn't feel as overwhelming. So there is zero judgment. The other thing I always tell people, and that I always hear from my other pro organizer colleagues, is that we have seen it all. We have seen all different types of messes, and it could be a house you've lived in for 30 plus years, or you could have just moved and shoved everything from a box into a random cabinet. You don't even know what it is. You haven't opened the box in many years. All of the things that, for the most part, that you are probably experiencing this overwhelm and this guilt over are very, very common. And that is kind of the big icebreaker for me with many of the people that I talk to on the phone when we're getting ready to work together, is that I say to them, I'm sorry, you're totally normal. There's nothing wrong with you. And this is just a very common thing that a lot of us deal with. And it is because we have access to getting things into our home so easily, and it's harder to get things out of our home and create that in and out flow that I was talking about a minute ago. And because we can get things delivered to our doors in 2 days or less most often, and it's easy to get exactly what you want with the touch of a button, that makes it even more difficult to control the stuff that comes into your home, the stuff management. So that's why we come in to help just give you that extra pair of hands to get it off your plate. And there is zero judgment attached. The third myth is that they'll make you get rid of everything. Professional organizers want, we're all minimalists, and we all read Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and you have to have only 5 pairs of shoes and a capsule wardrobe and this and that, and that is so very, very false. I joke that I consider myself minimalish, like I am an aspiring minimalist. I like the idea of it, but it's also not super practical for my life and all of the things that I want to do, and things change from season to season, and you need certain things at certain times but not others, and everybody's priorities and their belongings are different, and you have a different level of sentimentality attached to certain things, and it stems a lot from your childhood and how you were taught to manage your stuff, or if things were taken away from you without your permission growing up, then people can be a little bit more sentimental, or a little bit more protective over their belongings, and a little bit more reluctant to let go of things. And so it's a delicate balance. And as a decluttering expert, that doesn't mean that I am constantly going to be pushing you to get rid of everything. There's a lot of complexity that goes into it, and it's a very personal journey for the client that I really try to guide them through just making the best decisions for them and finding whatever the permission will be for them to let go of things that don't serve them. And it's a process. So generally speaking, I think people can assume that I will come in and we will just do this great big purge all in one session, and we're going to just get rid of everything and hire a dumpster. And sometimes, those things do happen, and the client has to be ready for that. But ultimately, the number one rule, at least for me, is that it has to be the client's decision. And I am just there to help guide them towards giving themselves permission to let go. And there will often be things that I might know or assume or understand from the beginning because I have practice with stuff management and decluttering that the client doesn't need. And I know that, but it might take them a few sessions, it might take them a few weeks, it might take them a few years, and I have experienced everything. So yeah, it really just does come down to the client, and I will ask them questions that will lead them down the path to play things out and think to themselves, okay, when was the last time that I used this? How easy is it for me to buy this again if I don't have it in my home, if I accidentally get rid of it? Or would I buy this if I didn't already have it? And once they become more comfortable answering those questions, they have a little bit of practice letting go of certain things, it just becomes easier the more you do it, and you realize that you can function without those things that you thought you absolutely must have, or you feel more comfortable letting go of things more quickly because you recognize the value and you feel the effects of having less and what that does to free up your time to focus on other things that you really truly enjoy. And so that's the main factor. And so if I'm just coming in and ripping things away from you before you're ready for it, it completely defeats the purpose of healing the process of the overwhelm of stuff management. So no, I'm not going to make you get rid of everything. And if you're working with somebody who is a little bit more pushy about it, it might be worth just saying, I'm not ready. I haven't found the permission that I need to let go of this yet. And so I just need to take some time to think about it. So that's totally okay. Okay, myth number 4 is a funny one. And I actually do get this one a lot. And people think that professional organizers will make you file, fold, and color code your whole wardrobe. And I've had people say to me, that's just too much work for me. I need something simple. I'm just really overwhelmed. And that, again, is why I focus more on the stuff management and getting things out of your house and paring your belongings down to what you actually use. But I do like to file fold in my own home. I like the idea of color coding, and I will style a client's closet just as a finishing touch for some people at the end of a project, just, so that they have something cool and aesthetic to look at for a few days. But I would never expect a client to keep their wardrobe that way. My closet does not stay color coded or even categorized entirely for too long before I have to go and fix it. And again, it really comes down to your personal priorities. I always recognize that I'm coming into your space and you live there, not me. And so I always try to find the best organizing solution for you. So if we're talking about clothing, I will show you how to file fold, and I will show you the benefits of it, where you open up your drawer and you're able to see every single piece that you have at a glance rather than having to unearth things from top to bottom. And I will show you how to fold all of that and hopefully, encourage you to try something that is more efficient. But I also have clients that have really busy lives and they've got tons of little kids. They may have ADHD or some other form of neurodiversity, and file folding or folding in general is just, it ain't happening. And so I will often set up no fold clothing solutions for clients where we just set up a huge wall cube cubby system, and we just pare things down and start chucking into bins, and we don't even fold it all. And I will, if I'm lucky, get them to buy all the same color socks, the same type of socks, so that you never have to try to match socks ever again. You just chuck them all in the bin and they're all the same color or the same 2 colors, and you just pull out ones that match and then you're ready to go. And so I try to find solutions like that are a little bit easier to maintain long term, rather than trying to focus on the aesthetics. And of course, there are clients that really appreciate the aesthetic, and so maybe we'll try to find a balance of that. But again, it really comes down to your personal preference. You live in the space, I don't live there, and so that's the rule that I always try to abide by, and then find the balance there with each specific piece of your wardrobe. All right, myth number 5 is that pro organizers are only for famous people that have tons of disposable income. And that is definitely not true. There are so many different types of professional organizers. There's several different niches and types of organizing that you can do. You have people that specialize in helping realtors stage homes, and you have people that only do photo organizing, and there are people that work with just entrepreneurs on productivity and email inbox management, all kinds of stuff. And I personally work with a lot of families with young kids. I work with a lot of people sort of like myself, because that's what I understand as a mom. I work with tons of moms and a lot of single moms. And so I have pricing that reflects somebody that is on a budget that needs to factor this type of service, this type of help into their budget. And there are plenty of organizers out there, probably in the area where you live, that offer really great service plans that will be right for your budget. And the other thing that you can also consider is virtual organizing. That's one of those things that really took off during the pandemic, for better or for worse. And it's a service that I offer to clients all over the world. And so I'm able to clutter coach them and get more into the life coaching and goal setting and teaching them how to organize their schedules and routines, so that you can take what I would normally do for a client and learn that process and apply it to your own life. So you're implementing the work and you're doing it yourself, but you're getting the strategy from a professional. And so there are tons and tons and tons of options. And generally speaking, virtual organizing is a bit more affordable. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to offer that to as many clients as possible. But yeah, I mean, it really depends. And not every organizer is going to make you invest in new product. You can work with somebody who does all-inclusive pricing, where they will go and do the shopping for you, and they'll buy the product and install everything, and it's totally hands-off for you. And those types of projects do tend to be more expensive. But if you are wanting to be more involved in the process, if you want to use what you already have, if you're really just more interested in decluttering and minimizing all of the stuff that you have to manage, which is what I like to focus on again, then you can hire somebody for a little bit less money, more on a budget, and it's totally affordable. All right, I gotta throw a bonus in there. This is another one that is a little bit hard for me to hear. I hear it pretty often, and it just makes me a little sad in one form or another. I hear that people don't want to hire a professional because they feel lazy and they know that they should be able to just do all of this themselves. And just because you feel like you should do something, I tell people, and you probably heard this phrase before, you gotta stop shoulding on yourself, right? So that's something that you can let go of. And if you suffer from perfection paralysis like I do, and you feel like you should be able to handle all of these things on your own because your mother did it, growing up for you, and she did all these wonderful things, and she cooked and baked and cleaned the whole house and everything else. I could throw out a whole bunch of statistics to you about how much bigger the houses are now than they were when we were growing up, and how, things, obviously we talked a little bit about the in and out flow and how it's very imbalanced now. You can get whatever you want in a very short period of time. And so just our basic economic structure is just very different than it used to be. And so you can't compare yourself to somebody from a previous generation that seemed to do it all and have it all together. And we also have to recognize that we live in the world of social media where we're presenting a sort of fake version of reality, especially on platforms like Instagram. And I've talked about this before, and TikTok and YouTube. With lifestyle influencers, where that, if you're a content creator, that's your job. And so you have this pressure to keep up a certain aesthetic. And that is why I do different types of content. I really try to push more realistic content and just information and help and humor that will show you that it's okay not to do everything perfectly, and that we can still live a very functional lifestyle that we deserve with less stuff and more of what our true intended purpose is. And so you're not lazy by hiring somebody to come in and help you with all of this, because you have all of these barriers stacked against you that people in previous generations didn't have. And it's also not your job. Right? You're not a content creator that keeps up this aesthetic on social media. Those things are not real. And so you're just a person trying to live your life, go to work, take care of your kids or your dog or whatever it is. We're all so busy. And that's just the reality of this very fast-paced, instant gratification type of world that we live in. And it is more important than ever to try to outsource, to try to delegate, to ask for help, and build community in your life to help you through those times where you just can't handle everything yourself. Maybe you work all day long and the last thing you want to do is come home and tackle a sink full of dishes that has been sitting there. It's so normal. It really is. It's so normal. It happens to more people than you would think. And a lot of people become paralyzed at the thought of asking for help because they see that everybody else logically, feasibly has it together, and that is just not true. It's just not. So you just have to give yourself a little bit of grace. It's okay to ask for help. And there are people out there like myself who are honored to come in and help you, again, live that lifestyle that you deserve, that I know you deserve. And professional organizers are some of the nicest, most caring, non-judgmental people that I've ever met in my life. As somebody who now works for themselves, I don't have coworkers really anymore. I am in this industry with all of these other professional organizers, and even though I haven't met many of them face to face, I have such a wonderful connection with them. They're such kind and wonderful, generous people. And so it's really just like a great community of people to get to know. And so I do encourage you, if you are sitting on the other end of this video or listening to this podcast and you're really feeling the pull to research and try to reach out to somebody, I do encourage you to do that. And if you really need in-person help and you don't live in Washington State, you can still contact me and I will be happy to give you recommendations or referrals to somebody in your area. I know pro organizers from all over the US and Canada, and even some in the UK as well, and Australia. So hit me up, let me know. All right, fam, that's gonna wrap it up. That is 5, actually 6, because I can't help myself. I threw in a bonus for you. Myths busted about professional organizers. I feel like I kind of went off on a few tangents. I hope it all came together and made sense to you and made you feel a little bit more confident if you do need to reach out to somebody to ask for help with your decluttering and organizing journey. If you want to work with me virtually, you are more than welcome to do that. And at the very least, I encourage you to check out my mini course, Better Habits in 30 Days. It really is the jumping off point for so many of my clients to find that motivation and start to really think about the purpose of their lives so that they can stop being distracted by stuff and get it out of the way and really truly focus on what matters to you. So definitely check that out. Definitely join my free Facebook group. Say hello, come in there and hang out. I am always in there every single week doing polls and asking questions and providing some free content whenever I can. If you got value out of this video today, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, smash that like button, and tap the little notification bell so that you never miss any new episodes on YouTube. And beyond that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy summer. I hope you get out and do something fun and fantastic, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.